Hello, 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 and welcome to a winning world. Wherever you may be, it's morning, noon, or night. I pray that the peace of God is continuing with you, and that peace actually is your portion, even in spite of all the things that are taking place with people that are losing their lives, what have you. My prayers, our prayers are with you and your family members, and just with this world, wherever you may be, whatever state you may be in. We are here to lift you, encourage you, and hopefully give you solutions and just ideas on how you can, make it to the other side successfully, victoriously, and just in a winning state. Because as long as you have breath in your body, you're winning. There's a purpose and a plan for your life. And we want to make sure that everyone is connecting with that and that you're living your dreams. On today, we have a CEO of a company who, during what is seemingly and what the world is saying is a recession, they're actually dominating and winning and expanding business versus cutting back. So I want to take my time and just honor this man that was a part of our audience last week, and he's coming back this week to talk on business. So Antonio, welcome to a winning world.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. My second time back, and I'm looking forward to all the beautiful things you're going to talk about and how we're going to dominate this episode.
Well, you know what? This one right here, this is all about you, because you know what? You have a winning sauce. There's an ingredient, there's a secret that you know, and we want the world to know exactly how Antonio and his team are dominating during a time when people are losing jobs.
Yep.
Millions have lost jobs,
Yeah.
and you're on this other end, and you're actually hiring people and bringing people in. So let's start with that. What is going on? Who is
Yeah.
Antonio Smith?
Well, I'm a guy from the hood that ended up somehow finding myself to millions of dollars. I employ about 100 and so odd people around 5 different continents or on 5 different continents. I'm in the process of hiring in the middle of this global economic crisis that the world has never seen before. 82 different people. We just hired 82. I'm hiring another 82,
Wow.
and the base salary is $22 an hour.
Can't beat that. You can't beat that. I was about to say, and you're not talking about $12 an hour, $10 an hour,
No.
$9 an hour. So it's $22 an hour that Antonio is hiring people for at this time. Can you tell us? I know it's about 5 countries that you're in. What type of work do you have for people to do?
Yeah. So technically, anyone who works for me is automatically a salesperson. That's one of the things that keeps us in business. Now, that doesn't mean you will primarily do sales, but I make everyone take sales training. You can't be here if you're not willing to do sales. You can't be here if you're not willing to be trained on sales. Now, I do that for 2 reasons, because sales is a transferable skill. And let's say you ever leave here, now you have a skill set that you can take anywhere else. And anyone losing jobs, that's because, and I say this respectfully, they're not salespeople.
Mhm.
Because if you're sales, if you can convince me that you can make me sell more products, you have a job immediately. So I
Mhm.
train everyone on sales. Now, that sales can look like customer service. It can look like social media marketing. The 82 different people that I already hired are in customer service and computer programming,
Mhm.
so all for the infrastructure, and they all doing sales in some way, call center, all sorts of stuff. And then the 82 people I'm getting ready to hire are going to be primarily sales. Let's see, it's going to be 2 administrative professionals out of that will know sales. So my CEO is going to have an assistant, and I want to get another assistant because my assistant has now become COO. You know, that's what happens when you have a good assistant. They just keep rising up in ranks. So now I need another assistant, and she needs an assistant, and there's going to be assistants for assistants, but they're all going to have sales training because at any drop of a hat, we'll
Okay.
all be doing sales. That's why we're doing. Well, that's part of the reason why we're doing so good.
Okay, so let me ask you, how did you create this? How are you not in the recession? What are you doing that no one else seemed to know how to do?
Fair enough. That's fair. In July 20th, 2008, I started this company. I've had plenty. I've been in company since 1996, and I every last one of those businesses since 1996. Let me just tell you, none of those. Well, one of those businesses were just one. The other 10 or 12 were not successful. Right? Serial entrepreneur. 2008, I stumbled across this business, and I've been preparing for this recession since July 2008 and the last recession. Right? Most people will tell you typically September 2008, but I was ready then. And I built this company in that recession. And
Mm,
I kept it on a recession model. So when we had that 10 years, no, that 12 years of plenty, I never acted like that. I rent out I have multiple offices, and I've got 2 offices in Galveston, Texas, where I'm from. One is a big building. One is an apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment, in which I've got a sales team in there. And we rent out that apartment every month, $900 a month. But that is the office. So my overhead is less than, most people's overhead, while we do more with few employees than billion-dollar companies can do. Even though we're a $1 million company, we do it as if we're already downscaling. So that is how I've been preparing. This is 12 years in the making. So I'm dominating now because I was dominating. Well, I got dominated in 2008, and I said it would never happen again.
Now, you mentioned $1 million company versus $1 billion, but we know that you're well on your way. And I know you have a desire to make 100,000 millionaires.
Yes.
How are you, what's your vision? What's your dream for
Oh,
that?
yeah.
How are you going to do that?
Yeah, I would love to take what they would call regular people. I want to take 100. I've created 8 millionaires so far. So I want to take, I've got 999,002 or whatever number it is, right, left. And it's just middle class people. I'm teaching people how to get out the middle class. I'm for the elite, looking to make it. I'm looking to make ordinary people extraordinary, right?
Hold on, you're breaking up a little bit. I don't want anyone
Okay.
to miss this.
Yes. We don't want to. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm the whole quarantine got me searching for Wi-Fi and all sorts of stuff because the
Okay,
office Wi-Fi.
I got you back now. So let's try that again.
Yes, no problem. The I'm looking to take ordinary people and make them extraordinary. So that's where the 100,000 millionaires come from. We do well over 10 figures in revenue, well over. So we're doing excellent. That's for sure.
Mhm.
And there's no end in sight. If I continue the path by the end of 2022, I'll be a billionaire.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask you, I mean, I know that you're succeeding, and I know we're going to talk even more on your success, but what is it that breaks your heart right now with what you're seeing? Because it's kind of it's sad to see that so many people have lost their jobs, but also now it's been reporting that, many of them that even put in for unemployment didn't qualify.
Yep. Yep. What breaks my heart the most. So I'm fortunate enough to be in the top 1%, but I came back to free anyone in the top. I mean, the bottom 97%. What breaks my heart the most is the billionaires that have employed you are now applying for the same loans you need and getting them first, and they're breaking the bank so you can't get them. That really breaks my heart, because the only way that you can get wealth is wealth, and most people don't know this.
Mm.
I'm going to be a billionaire because I have wealth, and that wealth will automatically make me a billionaire. Nothing can stop that. But the way you get that wealth is labor. And what this time and age have shown us is that all these people being laid off. They
Mm-hmm.
are the labor force of people are misusing them or not paying them properly. That's why my company has a $22 minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
You pay people $22 at minimum. They tend to open up the door differently when they walk in, right? Yeah, they walk in just a little bit differently. When a woman can afford to feel like a woman, not just in spirit, but in merchandise too,
Mm-hmm.
you can absolutely do something. So what breaks my heart is that these billionaires with yachts are taking loans from people who are trying to feed their family. And I just don't think that's right.
Yeah. And you make a really, really good point. And it's because we've been trained to actually live in a society to, I call it, work in the what do you call it?
The factories and worker
Factories,
bees. Yeah,
yes, factory.
yeah.
That's the name. It's like a factory mentality. Though we may go to school for 4 years, 6 years, or what have you,
Still
you
fact.
still end up in what we call a corporate world. That still, what on floor one have one level, floor two, and it goes up to 18 floors or whatever. So it's still laid out like a factory. That's all it is. It just has a little twist, and maybe you do dress up. Look a
Yeah.
little bit more polished, but the mindset is still the same. We work one way on this level, then the mindset switches up. So it's still a factory that we're in. So, with that being said, if people could turn back the hands of time when you were 18, if you could go back, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Save
Because I
10% of
want,
my income. I
what
did,
is
yeah.
that?
Save 10% of my income. All
Okay.
of it. No matter what. If 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 my grandmother gave me $1, save a dime. Like I don't even have to think about that question. If I got to go back in time, I would tell myself to save 10% of all my income now, because one of the fastest things, one of the what you need to do to get out the middle class is you need to play a different game. Everyone listen to me, you need about $250,000 to get out your situation, and you need this money to work for you and you don't work for it.
Mm-hmm.
The way capitalism is set up, if you don't have $250,000, which is most of your audience, most of the audience, then you're just not going to be able to play the game. The game is going to play you.
Mm-hmm.
And if I tell you, myself, the former selves, anyone listening, save 10% of your income, go back, do that, and get to $250,000 fast as possible. Here's what you can do with that. You take $250,000, even in this economy, you go to the bank, you tell the bank, for every dollar I give you, I want you to give me. That's fine. So what they'll do, because you're
Wait a
playing,
minute, you broke up a little bit. You
oh
said
yeah, I
for
definitely don't
every,
need to
I
break up
don't
here.
want to miss any
Yeah,
of
I
this.
definitely don't need to
For
break up here.
every dollar that they give you, what?
Give me back 4, or give me back 3, I should say. Every
Okay.
dollar I give you, you give me back 3. So
Mm-hmm.
essentially, if I give you $250,000, bank,
Mm-hmm.
I want $1 million loan. That's what you're gonna do. Now
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna take that $1 million loan, and then you're gonna put that 25% down on an apartment complex. So you're gonna take $250,000. You're gonna get $1 million loan, and you're gonna take that $1 million and you're gonna put it on a $4 million apartment complex. And nobody listening to me would be hurting if you had a $4 million apartment complex, 500 units, $6,000 a month.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We're breaking up.
Oh man, that's too
Let's.
good.
We got
Yeah.
to do it. We got to get this in there. Say that again.
If you had $4 million apartment complex, that's about 500 units,
Mm-hmm.
giving you $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's $500,000 a month. You would have cash flow. Once you get past the mortgage, get past the expenses, get past the loan payment, you'll be pocketing about anywhere between $30,000 a month to $100,000 a month. And that's the kind of game you want to play. And you can't do that without $250,000.
So for people that, say for instance, are older
Yep.
and didn't know to tell their 18-year-old self,
Yeah.
to put 10% aside. It's amazing how you say that we're taught to give 10% to the church,
Mm.
and even 17 and 20% to for tips these days.
Yep.
But no one is telling us to tip or to, you know, pay ourselves a
Yeah.
tithe in a sense, to store up, for times that, because times, it's a roller coaster. There are good times and there are bad times. Even in the Bible, you have 7 years of increase and 7 years of famine. You've prepared, like you stated, 12 years ago when there was a recession, your mindset was like, okay, you know what? I want to put something together that has me never to be in a recession, even though there is a
Mhm.
recession. So you planned. And that's something that we are not taught. We're
Yep.
taught literally to store things up for everyone else
Mhm.
except for ourselves. So you have someone who is in their 40s or even in their 50s
Yeah, we
that
make them
are
60.
having
We can do
to
60s
start
and 70s.
over. What is that?
We can do 60 and 72.
Exactly. You have people that literally are having to start over or try to find, something new. What would be your advice to them? Because I understand the 10%, but I think there may be a little bit more aggressiveness that maybe
Sure.
need to be taken
Sure.
on their behalf. And like I stated, this is stuff that our children need to be hearing. We need to
Yep.
be, starting this stuff from as soon as we're giving them something in their hands, to say, you know what, you always put something, like you said, 10%
Yep.
aside for yourself, and you never touch this. You just allow it to grow. So what would you say to those people who, because I know there's hope for everyone, and it may, I know someone may be saying, well, I'm not 18 anymore, I'm 50, I'm 60, or what have you. How can we help them?
Absolutely. I'm gonna say two things here, and I'm gonna make sure I don't break up. And if I do, I'm gonna repeat because
I will stop you because I want them to get it all, get
this
it
is
all.
the best and most important question I've been asked all this year. The first thing I want to comment on is the 10% tithe. Now, while all of us should be tithing to whatever charity, it's a universal practice, right? You can't say give me corn without first tithing a corn seed into the ground, right? You just can't do that. But if I'm your leader and I teach Shamanda to tithe 10%, but
Mm,
I don't teach Shamanda what to do with the 90%,
come on.
I'm not your leader. I'm your slave master.
Come on.
Okay?
Say that again. Can you
Yes,
repeat that?
I am
Repeat
not
that.
your leader. I am your slave master.
Okay. Okay.
Even if we look alike. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
I have to say that to the, I've got the honest, she's shocked that I said it. I have to say that because it is important. I must teach you what to do with your 90% as well. So I wanted to say that first. So if you don't have a leader, but this is not me speaking bad about any church, you do that. Give, because I give. You give.
Yes.
I tithe, you tithe.
Yes.
I have a moral obligation
Yes.
to tell you what to do with your 90%.
Yes.
Because it's not enough to get a good harvest from the 10 and
Mm-hmm.
then ruin it with your behaviors from the 90.
Wow.
See, God is good. But
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Broke up. Broke up.
I broke up. Let me.
Yeah.
Yes. So God is good
Come on. All the time.
all the time, but your 90% behaviors
Come on.
is like weed ripping at the wheat that God has given to you.
Now, where you're going is we perish for lack of knowledge.
Knowledge. Yes.
Okay. So that means that when we're going to these places, because I get you, it's like something inside says that if we say something that goes what against what we've been taught, then it's blasphemy. No, it's blasphemy when you're teaching and not teaching the whole story. When you're increasing and the people that are in your camp are decreasing and they're sitting putting you up on a pedestal and saying, that's my leader, but I'm still here. And we're thinking that that is okay, when the word itself states that everybody in the house is lacking nothing, that everyone in that house, literally, when you read that word, it says your servants, your household, everyone that's working within that field, there is no lack. And I don't care if one gave a penny and one gave a million, there's enough for everyone to have what they need. And that's when it's being properly proportioned to the people, where we're making sure that everyone is eating. And not always, like you're stating, we're talking about knowledge now. It's not always a financial thing. Okay. It's true enough that spiritual food, we get it, but God talks to us all. We just need our leaders to help guide that to another level when they're truly hearing and being led. And what you're saying, I'm interjecting this only because I heard you say, it's not to, go against what we believe, because we believe what we believe. But at the end of the day, and there's something in us that tell us, when we're saying it, oh, I better say this. But at the end of the day, no, there has to be a knowledge point, education that is going out, that's going to help things continue to go in the overflow, versus having the leader in the overflow and everyone else just saying that, well, when I get to heaven, when that Bible says, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So therefore, what I'm seeking in heaven, it's already given to me here on this earth.
That's right.
So just with that, I'm going to digress and let
you did good. No, you did good. I still remember the question, but I want you to think about it. I grew up in a church with 6 members, but right across the street, and I don't mean that as a metaphor, I mean literally 20 paces away.
Yes.
The church across the street had over 1,000 members. Now, either God was real small in a 6-member church and real big in a 1,000-member church, or someone learned some principles outside of traditional understanding, like financial principles, and then brought them back to the mound, back to the storehouse, right? And that's what we're talking about here. Someone learned how to market their church. Someone did not. Someone learned how to have door greeters be in the parking lot instead of at the door. At the door, in the parking lot, in the aisles, and all these things are practices that you learn. To your point, these are just principles that are in addition to our faith. Now, to answer your question, let's go. We said 75. Let's make it 80. You're 80 years old. You don't have time to save 10% of your income and do that plan I said. Your salvation is the internet. Let me bless you right now. If you're 80, the internet is the greatest thing that can ever happen to you, because the market rewards excellence, and it does not care about your age, especially on the internet. The internet is not racist. I didn't say racist people are not on the internet, but the internet itself is not racist. If you invest in stocks on the internet, if you black, white, Jew, or Gentile, right, that money's going to rise with you. So this is how you do it. If you're 80, all you have to do is learn how to do sales funnels. That's it. Sales funnels. You don't even need a product. Now, if you have one, good. But you can sell anybody's product, from oranges to concerts to Les Brown to TD Jakes. It doesn't matter. Everybody in business is looking to do what? Sell more business. And if you know how to master sales funnels, and you're going to love this, you could become an affiliate, take no less than 50% commission to 100% commission. And you can use everyone else's budget, everyone else's overhead, everyone else's employment cost, everyone else's education, and you can have them spend all that money and build their businesses. And all you got to do is master sales funnels over the internet and sell for them. You don't need no employees, just you and a computer, and the sales system is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week employee, and you take 50% commission of $10,000. And I promise you, you do that, and you learn it enough, you will be a millionaire in a year or two. And it would take you probably at actually age won't matter, but at 80 years old, it would take you 6 months or less to master sales funnels. That would be my plan for you.
Okay, let me ask you this. Will
Mm-hmm.
I have an affiliate link to add to this video?
Yes, if you want. Yeah, I can make sure you got yeah, for sure. I'm looking for affiliates all the time. Yeah, you can. Show me
Yes.
right.
Look here, you all will click my affiliate link because I'm not quite 80, but I am
Yeah.
not
She
18.
wants to be an affiliate. When you're gonna make her by the end of the day, you're gonna be an affiliate with the ATS company. You
Come
so
on.
will.
Look
Yeah,
here,
that's it.
I am going to look. I will be using my affiliate link. So yes, send me my link. I will attach it to all the connections that I have for this live, and we're gonna make this thing do what it do.
I give you 50% too, and some I got 100%.
Wait a minute, you're breaking up on me.
I said, let me make sure I'm back. I said I'm gonna give you 50% commissions, and some products I got 100% commission because I'm
Wow.
not looking for the money. I'm looking for the new customer you bring me.
Right. And we need the people. And I'm really doing this because I realize that you and your team, you have a winning
A winning world.
dominating, yeah, you have a winning world, but
Yeah.
you have a business that's dominating truly in this season. And because it breaks my heart to hear how people are constantly losing their jobs, and they're literally trying to make life happen. They're, like I said, unemployment, they can't even get it. Half the people that are put in for it don't even qualify.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what how they're qualifying people, because I will do a live on that as well. I will add that information. But people are needing help, and I know 5 years ago when I was hit as a pedestrian by a vehicle, what it was like to have and then not to have, and just to fight your way back with everything. And I'm still in the fight, but I thank God, God has given me a peace. So, I have that peace that passes all understanding, that I know things are coming together in their season, and I had to kind of sit quiet to allow him to do it his way versus me putting my hands in and I was messing everything up because I didn't have the wisdom, I didn't have the knowledge. And it's important to connect with people who truly have something that is working to learn from. So, when I saw what you were doing, and, I've been connected for some time, I'm like, you know what? I want to be able to give. I don't want to just come to you and say, what, I need help. I need this. I need that. But finding ways that we can help each other and, make it work, and
Yeah.
also do my part. And
I got
that's,
3 major things that you can get a part of right now that would make you a ton of money.
wow.
Just using just getting me new customers. I got 3. Put her part of all 3 funnels we got out there for the affiliates.
Wow.
Go ahead. Yeah, won't cost you a dime.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I'm going to do my part. Like I said, it's my heart for the people. I know what it's like to have, like I said, one day and the next day it's gone, and you're doing everything that you know to get back up, and
Yep.
not everybody's for you. And because of what things that I've encountered, I want people to know that there are genuine people out there with good hearts that really want to see you succeed. And whether I get something back from it or not, the information is vital. I
Yep.
feel that it's a lifeline for us all. And as long as I can pump the blood in that heart the way God has given to me, I love doing interviews. I love talking to people. This is my space. This was created from my healing bed. This actually came after the accident, when I was laid up and really couldn't do anything, but I had a mind and a will to go on, and I could see my winning. Though I couldn't do the things that I used to do, I knew that there was still life in me. And I said, if I have this in me. And I'm looking at it this way. People need to hear my story. People need to see that though this woman is not, able to do what she was doing before, though she's not bringing in finances the way she once did, and though she's struggling, guess what? I'm still winning. I am still winning, you guys. It's my mindset. I don't know, as I was telling someone the other day, I don't know how to quit. It's not a part of my DNA. It's not in me. I'm still winning, and I will be winning until I leave up out of here. And it will all come together. And I want others to know that this, even in this time when it seems like you've lost everything or that you're about to lose everything, change your mindset. Think of it as a blessing in disguise that, you know what, I can do something that maybe I've never done before, or maybe I've desired, or maybe I've dreamt of. This is a time that you can grab a hold. Look here, we have a businessman here, CEO of his own company, that's paying $22 an hour to people that are willing to learn, what he does. He's willing to teach you. I mean,
Yeah.
how many people are willing to teach you to pay you?
I actually prefer hiring those kind of people that I get to teach. I
Yeah.
prefer, instead of hiring super experts, I prefer to hire great people with great character,
Mhm.
but that don't know, because I can train you in our culture. I prefer it that way.
And who wouldn't want to be a part of a culture that's a millionaire?
I
Where
know, right?
millions are flowing and growing, and it's continuing on. So, I know you stated with Les Brown and TD Jakes, and I know you've been a part of Joel Osteen and different ones. Let me ask you this: who have been your greatest mentors? Who have given you the inspiration
Yep.
to move in the path that you're moving into?
It's really two people that really changed the full fundamental direction of my life, and I don't know how I got this lucky. But first, it was the Joel Osteen.
Mhm.
Joel Osteen got hold of me in 2012. I interned with him for 2 years. He is the greatest leader that I ever had the pleasure of working for.
Wow.
He's without a doubt, almost everything that I'm doing in success, 90% of it
Mm.
is from Joel Osteen. And I have to say that, I have to admit that that is the truth. And it just is the truth.
Yeah.
The second person is Les Brown.
Mhm, mhm.
Les Brown gifted me to know how to tell my story, but not just my story, a story. And let me tell
Yeah.
you something. Under the tutelage of Les Brown, I learned that story beats production any day.
Mhm, mhm.
You can have no money, but if you can tell a story, you will story yourself to wealth. As a
Yes.
matter of fact, when Shamana pushes out this podcast, a story must be told about this episode.
Yes.
And the story is when Les Brown taught me how to properly tell a story like him. I exploded income
Hold
immediately.
on, hold on. You broke up a little bit when Les Brown taught you.
When he taught me how to tell a story like him, I exploded in income immediately. And
Mm.
that's the truth.
Well,
Yeah.
there's no greater storyteller.
No, no. Les Brown give Jesus a run for his money and tell a story. Yeah, buddy. Les Brown is good with it. That's for sure.
Well, I say to that he connected with his creator, our God, to be able to, because everything comes from the Father.
That's it.
So he became one with him. So when it comes to him telling not just his story,
Any
he
story.
can tell your story better than you can tell your story.
You can eat a bowl of Cheerios, and this man can narrate you eating Cheerios and make a book out of it. He can. He can. He really can. And he's good at that.
It's amazing. When we were in those seminars and in those classes, and he would just tell you to tell a piece of something.
Yep.
And before that person was, I mean, they may talk 2 minutes. He'll take that 2 minutes and make it 20 minutes. And we'll have told your story in a way that, I mean, it just made $1 million just by
Right
itself.
there. Can I buy that from you? He's like, no, that's your story. Is it? Yeah. Oh, it
And
is
that's
your
the
story.
thing. When he gives you something, and that's one thing I can truly say. When he told your story, he would tell you to take it and he would say, listen, do it this way. And if you listen to him, you really did. You should be, making it to that next level at this point, because that's something that he does give of himself when it comes to that. What a blessing. I tell you, you say luck, but that you've been, I don't know Joel Osteen, personally, but I love his mentality of happiness. And, a lot of people have a problem with that, but everybody has to start somewhere. And if you're needing that encouragement and needing to know joy to that level, that's the greatest place to start before digging deep to go to that next level. I mean, I
Yeah.
love his heart. At the end of the day,
And that's it. He has extreme character. Joel Osteen fixed my character.
wow,
Period. Point blank.
that's
I
good.
would, yeah, I would. I'd probably still be a millionaire, but I would certainly have to protect my money because I was not a nice person. Joel
Wow.
Osteen made me a nice person. I'm sure he would say I made me a nice person, but nevertheless, right, it came from him and his tutelage. That's for sure.
And I will say only because when I hear it in the spirit that
Yeah,
it wasn't necessarily God used him to stir up what was already in you.
absolutely.
It just had to be dug up because I still have to keep it in a way that all of us we're known before we're formed in our mother's womb. And God is our God, he's our father, and he only used our parents as vessels to get us here, in a sense. But then he has these great leaders who are so in tune with him that know how to stir our babies,
Yeah,
to birth them forth. And life, has a way of bringing the ugly side out. That's why, even when people have done me wrong, I find that place of forgiveness, because you know what? I'm a firm believer people would do better if they knew better. And most people would say, well, they're grown, they know this, that, or the other. If you have not come into oneness with the Father, irrespective to what you've gone through, it's hard for you to see through to forgiveness with anyone, because it hurts, it's painful, it's real, yet no one can take that away from you. But when you realize that we're all walking through this path, and yeah, it's a choice we make, but I believe that there's an angel, two or three, that crosses our path at some point that will give us truth. And at that point we have a choice. Now if you choose not to, then that's between you and the Father. Has nothing to do with me. I can still pray for you. I can still love you through it all, through the pain and everything. But he uses those that have an ear to hear to lead and guide us. So that, like you said, there was an ugliness within you, but then I know your story. And if anyone listened to our previous podcast in YouTube, they would know that, you were homeless, from 6 years old up until what, 14, I think it was. So a lot of things can take place. A lot of,
oh yeah,
it's a lot of things that took place that made the ugly be more than what it was. But at the end of the day, the real you is shining through. And that's what Joel was able to tap into, because of his relationship with the Father. At the end of the day, he helped birth that baby in you. And that's what we are doing. I call myself the vision birth and doula. I didn't even know what a doula was. I heard that in a dream that actually came to me a couple years back when I was asleep. Never knew what a doula was until about a year ago. Someone said, "Do you know that's a, a part of a support that's in the word as well?" So they had to take me through that. But yeah, um, and then I studied up on doula. I looked it up and I'm like, okay, well, it's birthing babies. Doulas birth babies. They go and um, they're with well, not birthing babies. Let me take that back. They actually help the process, for the mom and the family to be comfortable, to, just have peace, set the atmosphere for them, and just prepare for that birth of that baby and get everybody on the same page. That's what a doula does. Okay, advance into the birthing of the baby. Okay.
Yeah, I
So
agree. I agree.
so that's pretty much, where he is and what he did. And I love it. You hear me? Because we in turn begin to do the same thing for each other and for everyone else. It's a process. It's a beautiful thing, and look what has come from it.
That's right. I complete everything you said. I didn't know nothing about a doula. You just taught me something.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Good. You said
So,
something earlier that I was.
oh, you broke up a little.
Okay. You
You
said
said,
something. You said something earlier that I would like to allude back to this when you were talking about when we were talking about the affiliate and 80 years old. Here's a deal that I would love to tell your audience. God is so fantastic
yeah,
that God will put a he'll do two things. He'll put a Saul in your life
yeah.
to
Mm,
get rid of the Saul in you.
that's good.
Mm.
That's good.
Right? Because it's Saul was for it because
Wait a minute. You're breaking up. I want them to get all of this because I want
yeah,
to get
yeah.
all of this. Okay, go ahead.
Saul was for David because David had a lot of Saul in him.
Hmm, hmm,
And the way you get Saul out of you is God to put a Saul over you
hmm, hmm.
and then teach you how to give that Saul grace.
Yes. Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what God also, once you get that Saul out of you, then you realize God continuously put an overflowing cup next to your empty cup.
Yes.
So you didn't have to start from scratch.
That's it.
You got
Wow.
overflow, right? He's my cup runneth over, is what David says, right? You understand what I'm saying? So these
Yes.
are powerful things I want to come back to. So if you're 80 and the internet is an overflowing cup,
Come on.
if your character is together, you already got half the battle together. If you're a good person and you want to do good things with your money, I promise you, there is a God that sits on a throne that can't wait to give you some good money. Because
Come
good
on.
people do good things with good money. All
Amen.
you have to do is find where the window of heaven is opening up and stand under it. That's it.
Come on.
And
Yeah.
nothing about that takes the right skin color. Nothing about that takes the right age or the young age. All it takes is for you to recognize when the window is open and stand under that window. And if you're 80, the internet is that window for you, and it looks like sales funnels.
Look here, here. Look here. That's getting in position. That reminds me of the virgins. The 10 virgins, and
Go tell us
how
about it.
half of them had just went too crazy with theirs and ran out of the
Mm,
oil, and the other ones, and then they come saying, "Can you give me some of yours?" And they're like, "No." And you got to be able to say no.
mm, mm.
But
Look at
but
you now.
then they left to go fill theirs, and the master came,
Mm.
and they missed out because you stepped out of
Stepped out of
position.
position.
You
Look at
weren't in position. So you got to know when to move, and you got to know how to flow with that, and don't allow anyone to pull you away from it.
yeah.
Because there are going to be people that are naysayers.
Yep.
You better say yes to yourself and no to everyone else that's trying to pull you out of what you know within your heart
Mm.
is calling you. If this thing is connecting with you, that affiliate link will be connected. Click on it and get to Mr. Antonio, because they they have something and it's working. It's real. Um, it's what it is. You got to, like you say, get in the overflow. And you got to get with people that are wanting you to be in the overflow. Some people have an overflow and they don't want you to be a part of it. They're not even telling you how they're doing it.
Mm-mm. Saul
Here
didn't
you
want David part of his overflow.
Come on.
No, no, no.
He wanted to wipe him out. But
Yes.
see, David, you brought up David. David had made that connection with God. And he knew that, God has watched over me all this time. And he had a love for Saul. He really,
Mm. Oh,
even
yeah,
to
he
the
did.
point to where
He
when the
chose
man
Saul.
died, he still honored his
That's
house.
right. That's right. That's right. Sure did. So my favorite part about David and the Saul
Mm,
story is something so obscure that we all miss it, but I needed it
mm,
when I needed it.
mm.
At the time I was interning with Joel Osteen, I was also in the steps before seminary. So I was in Bible college, so to speak. I was at Houston Baptist University getting my graduates in Christianity, maybe my bachelor's in Christianity.
Yes.
And the professor there, Dr. Felici Sagwe, was talking about this story. He's Nigerian, so he has his accent, so you have to listen.
Mhm,
This man pointed out the greatness of David. He said in class, Saul threw spears at David, and the text says David dodged. And
mhm,
everybody went, yes. But he says most people miss that right after that, the text says, and David dodged again.
mhm, mhm.
See,
Wow.
we know how to deal with Saul because Saul get on our nerves, our boss, our grandmother, our mama, whoever, our kids, whatever.
Mhm,
But we got that short fuse. We got a limit for how much we gonna let them get on our nerves.
mhm,
The
mhm,
text say David still dodged no matter
mhm,
how many spears Saul threw. And
mhm.
that's what's important. If anybody can dodge, but when you've had enough, when they really deserve whatever it is that you know they deserve, can you dodge again? You done changed the whole podcast, girl. We supposed to be talking about money.
Well, you know what though, money is tied into it because
Every
guess
character and
what?
everything.
When life is happening, you've got to know how to dodge those things to keep your overflow coming and going. So it all ties in. We're just talking a little word here,
Yeah,
spirituality,
those
getting
who
out of
have
the
character
earthly
make money.
realm.
Those who have character make money and they don't have to protect it. Let me tell you, I've changed so many lives, and I don't mean this from a bragging perspective,
Yeah.
but at this point, I don't have to protect my income. There
Yes.
are people that if you say something about me, there are people that will defend me and I won't have to say a word because I treat people as I can't even say fairly because I treat people I treat people twice as good as they treat me. That's what Joel Osteen taught me that personally.
Wow, that's good.
Joel Osteen taught that there was this is perfect for your podcast. It's actually inside the book by Craig Johnson and Lee Vertically. Joel Osteen wrote the foreword. There was this musician that came to sing for Lakewood, and the musician wanted all this time, but there's a service.
Right.
So the musician got upset, so he didn't show up for the morning service.
Oh.
Didn't show up at all. So Joel had to, scramble and stuff. Boom. Then at the evening service, the musician came strutting down the aisle, sat on the front row as if he was fit to go sing. Joel let him get up there and sing. All that. This is a true story, y'all. Let him sing, do all that stuff. So in the meeting, everybody at the church, it's time to cut the man a check, a love offering. The people upset. Hey, he didn't fulfill his contractual obligations, Shamanda. We can't, Pastor Shamanda, we can't do that. No. And Joan quietly walked up on him, wrote down the number to pay the musician, and
Jesus.
it was 2 times more than the initial contract.
Mm,
And then Joel said, always treat people
mhm,
2 times better than they treat you.
mm,
I never forgot that.
mm.
And people who live like that
Wow.
don't have to protect their money, the wealth of the wicked.
It's stored up for the righteous.
I'm done. I'm done right now.
Oh, but I love it. Look, you're in my vein now.
I
But I
know
know
it.
we got to keep it moving. But this is some good stuff, y'all. And
The character and
I'm a strong
everything.
believer when it comes to that because also I say that even when it comes to these churches and everything, one of the parts that I've never heard a preacher preach on is how Paul would tell some of these churches when he would go, I didn't ask you for anything.
That's right.
That's why I've continued working. He was a
Mm,
tent maker. He continued to work. Okay. He said, I never wanted you to take
man.
what I was doing and twist it,
Mm,
and to make it something that I'm coming to you for
yep.
something other than. And my thing
He
is we
could
got
have.
to get back to this thing. You hear me?
Yeah.
Because most people these days are quitting their job saying, oh, God called me to preach. But
Mm,
then you get in there, and I'm not saying he didn't, but where he leads, he provides. And there
that's
should
right.
never be any stresses or strains on the people nor yourself if God has led you. Okay. And he say he says also states that what is it? What is it about the maketh rich and addeth no sorrow. Help me, help me, help me.
Yeah. Well, no, joy maketh rich and add no sorrow. I forget. I forget how that goes. Yeah, I know what you're
Hold
talking
on.
about.
I
Yeah.
got to get it. I got to get it right.
Yeah.
The joy of the Lord maketh rich and addeth no sorrow.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay. That,
Yeah. The
I think that's
blessings of the Lord
the
enriches.
blessing. That's it.
That's
I'm
it.
talking about the
Blessings of the
blessing.
Lord enriches.
Y'all forgive
Yeah.
me. Sometimes it kind of slip. It
Oh, it
slipped.
slipped me too. I had to go
Yes,
way back in my
the
memory.
blessings, but I had to get it out here to y'all. The blessings of the Lord maketh rich and addeth no sorrow. If there is sorrow being added to what you are doing, it's not a blessing. It's not from God. I don't care what nobody out there is teaching you. There should never be a stress and a strain on the people. When things are being done in decency and in order, there's a flow. And when God has brought it forth, as I stated, where he leads, he provides. If he has led you, he will provide for you. And you don't have to sit and get upset with the people, this, that, and other, and tell them what they're not doing. It's not for them to do it if God has called you to it.
All right. I ain't did that. Well,
Unless God lays it on their heart. Now, we can't go because we do give, we do see. But
right.
unless
You're
God
talking
has,
about you're talking about taxing, when my presence is labor, my presence, if you put I say this all the time, if you put I say this, let me say it respectively.
yes,
If you put a small man in charge of a big church, a small person in charge of a big church, man or woman, they won't stop until they take that church down to their size.
Jesus.
And that's outside of church. If I put a small you in a big company, you won't stop until
Come
you
on.
bring that company down to your size. Character is everything.
It's everything.
It
It's
is.
and we're gonna keep on. We're gonna move on with this. But it was one more thing. I there was
Go
a
ahead.
serviceman who came to me yesterday, and we were talking, and he's a minister out of church here locally, and he just sat there listening to me, and I said, "Sir, I'm gonna let you go because I know you got to get home." But the food was good that was coming from my daddy. You hear me? But I left him with this one, and I actually sent it to him. That's why I could pull it up so quickly. But it's Hosea 6:6. I want you to show love, not offer sacrifices. I want you to know me more than I want burnt offerings.
That's right. That's everything.
Love
Yeah.
and knowing him. That's all he wants from us,
That's it.
to
That's it.
show love
That's
and
it.
to know him. Because what good is it to have all these other things? You can pay the burnt offering, you can make the sacrifices, but you don't know him. What good is it to save the whole world and lose your own soul?
Yeah. Well, you know what? And I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people make that about money. What good is to save the whole world, lose your own soul? A lot of people. Let's just pretend, even though it's true, that the United States did not exist in the Old Testament. Let's just pretend that for a second, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just pretend that wasn't about money. Let's
Mm-hmm.
think about that for a second.
Yes.
God never corrected anybody to salvation. That's not the way it
Come on.
works. God loves to salvation.
Yes.
And when you're loved, then he tells you, oh, okay, well, listen, let's correct a few of these behaviors. Love
Come on.
first. That's
Yeah.
it. So when you're out there saving the world,
Yes.
this is what our evangelism is today. We correct people.
Yeah.
And what's the point of what is the profit to correct the world and lose your soul?
Come on. And that's serious. I'm gonna tell you something, because he had to deal with me. I had to take a seat back. He had to deal with me. And I thank God because my ears are open and I want it. I want him with everything. And I've always stated, even from the time, if there's anything within me that's not like you, rip it out. I mean, you got to be mindful of what you praying.
Yeah,
But I meant it.
correction
I
is
don't
not
take
like God.
I don't take it back. I meant exactly what I said because I don't want anything in me. Like you said, you got to sometimes meet the soul within
That's
yourself
right.
to get that thing out.
That's right.
Okay, so um, I'm not afraid to pray that because when I stated it way back before my college years, I stated today, I don't want nothing being a part of me that's going to separate me from the love of my Father. But I realized that my Father and I are one. He created me. Once I realized that we were one, and he's not out here and I'm over here, because as long as you're seeing him over here and you over here, you're never gonna equal up. You're never gonna be able to make it to him. So he had to show me how I was one with him, how I came out of him, just like he said, in the Old Testament from the beginning, that he was going to make men and they were going to make men in their image. See,
That's
the
right.
Father, Son, and Holy Ghost were already there. So man was made out of their image. We were already created. We were already to be brought forth. And I was telling the serviceman the other day, I think it was yesterday also, that you tell everybody that you meet that they're chosen.
Yeah, you're right. That's what Jesus did.
They're chosen.
And that's
Instead of sitting here, we want to pick and choose who are chosen. And he tells me in my Bible that through these eyes, we're saying one thing and he's saying something totally different. If
we can do that. Old Testament, Joel, not yeah. Jonah went to Nineveh and said, "Y'all chosen." And God done sent me here 3 days ago. I fooled around and messed up. Nineveh, repent.
Come on.
Before they repented, 4 days before that, because it was a day's journey
Mm,
from when he hit land to get there. That's one day.
come on.
3 days in the fish. That's 3 days. Plus one day running the Joppa. That's 5 days.
Mm,
5 days before they got their salvation, God already sent it.
come on. It's already there. It's already done. And we have to realize that. And if you begin to tell people that more so than trying to show them where they are and saying you got to change, they've already changed. Just speak the change into their life and
That's
keep
right.
it moving, because you've been called here just like I've been called here. He say I say gifts come without repentance. He don't look at the stuff we look at.
Mm.
I look at Rahab, and then we're gonna continue because I do have
Okay.
another
Okay.
question for
All
you.
right. Go ahead with Rahab. She's one of my
Rahab,
favorites.
I say, Lord, as I read, because I've been going through this thing I'm going through it. The Holy Ghost is leading me differently in my
Let him
studies,
lead. Let
which is
him lead.
amazing. But Rahab not just was in the Old Testament, because people have said, well, that was before Jesus, this and that and the other. I'm like, but Rahab is mentioned over there in the New Testament too. Now,
That's right.
Rahab, she was saved because of what she did. It wasn't even because of her lifestyle. Lifestyle didn't change.
Yep. Not at all. Didn't change at all. So what happened with that?
What happened? And she's still mentioned. She's
Mm.
still, lifted high because of her heart. She knew who they were before they came. She had listened to those stories, and she knew when these people came that, no, I know they're coming to take over this place. God had
Mm.
already dealt with her heart. See, she had the heart and she could see. And what did she do? She was even lying to get
Yeah.
them
Lied
safely
her way
out of
into
the
heaven.
city.
Lied her way into heaven. Yeah, it was faith. James
Safely
comes back
out.
in the new station. Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
was she saved by that scarlet rope? They
Yep.
just
Yep.
sit that out. That's just like the
Yeah.
bloodstained banner during this time. I tell people, put the bloodstained banner over that. Whatever's happening is gonna pass us on by. We just
Yep.
have to believe. We got to know this thing. But the thing is, most people would have looked at Rahab of in today's time
Oh
and
yeah.
say, that she's just a heathen. She's this, that, and the other.
Of course they would.
But look how God used her. And my
Yeah.
thing is, he knew her heart. And that's where we got to realize, my thing is, you don't know. He say he's the only one that knows the heart.
Yeah.
We better get out of God's way and stop trying to be God. And like you say, it's the last commandment that he left with us, and that was to love.
That's
That's
it.
his greatest thing,
That's
to
it.
love.
In the Garden of Eden, when you brought it up, we were supposed to rule with
Come on.
God,
Yes.
not as God. There is a difference.
Yes. Yes.
With, not as, not
Yes.
as. And Rahab is just the beautiful thing about Rahab, she's in the lineage of
Come
Jesus,
on. Of Jesus.
and she's not Hebrew at all, and she's a woman, but
Come on.
she's the great 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 grandmother. It's amazing, right?
Come
It's just
on.
amazing how God seems to not care about man's rules.
Yes.
It's just amazing. It's just amazing, and James counts that as faith,
Yes.
and she got it by faith. So yeah, no
And
doubt,
she
no doubt.
had it. That's what she had. I mean, she
Yes,
believed what she had heard, and she knew. They said that these people coming in, and they're gonna overthrow these folks. So I better be on these folks' side up over here. Let me tell you, I'm gonna help you. I just need you to save my family.
that's right.
But no
I
one
mean,
ever led her to this or led her to that. The thing is, she believed, and that's what the word tells us to believe.
that's right. Well, her sins, as we would say, the reason people didn't like her because they were on the outside.
Come on.
You can see her sins by looking at her, and we still do that today, right? We don't like drug dealers, we don't like crackheads, drug addicts,
Prostitutes, all of it. You
alcoholics,
name it.
anything we can see
Poor
on
people.
the outside.
Poor
Oh, you
people.
don't like poor people. Oh, but now we didn't change. We don't like immigrants at this point. We don't. I mean, you're right. We don't. At this point, we don't like immigrants. We serve an immigrant Jesus and don't like immigrants. Like that don't
In an
make too much sense.
immigrant land,
Yeah, we done made well,
all of
we
us
done made
have
Jesus.
migrated because everything started in Africa per the Bible. So
You
everybody's
understand?
migrated somewhere.
We done made Jesus a card carrying Republican American at this point. You
Oh my
know,
goodness.
yeah, and he spoke English. If you let us tell it,
Not
you
the
know,
value.
we've lost our way there.
Yeah.
But the
We
beautiful
have to
thing
ask the
is,
people, where's the love?
yeah,
Where's the
love
love?
it. There it is. There. I
Where's
think you had a question you wanted to ask.
I do.
You
I
done,
have a question. I'm getting back to it now. So we
all
done
right,
went
no
to
problem.
church.
Look, you done gave value, the value.
It is. And it all ties in. But I know, this show is focused on um helping people see how to overcome and winning. And we've talked primarily on your winning. What are some of your weaknesses that you had to discover, that you
Oh,
can share?
yeah,
Because that what people are in their weaknesses right now, and we've shown them how to overcome it. But being vulnerable with your own weaknesses may be a click and a turn, for someone out there that's listening.
yeah. I'm like Paul. I can tell you my weaknesses all day long. That's for sure. One, I think the strongest weakness that I had was I did not treat the ones close to me
Ah,
like I treated the fans that
that's
were
good.
not.
Yeah.
That's one of the strongest ones. The people close to me, I gave no grace. But the people I was trying to impress or lead, I gave all grace.
Hmm.
And I would justify it by saying, but you know better. You too close to me for this. And that's one of the worst things you can do
Wow.
is to be a great leader and a terrible husband.
Hmm.
And I can certainly write a book
Hmm.
about being a great leader and a
Wow.
terrible husband. That might be my next book, God dog, because I am an expert. Let me tell you, I can regale you with knowledge and stories from experience on how to be a great leader and a terrible husband. I think that's the most important one. Other ones, back to character, having your character right. You, actually, those two, any other weakness flowed from that. If I cut corners, it was because I didn't have the right character, right? And I think one more thing, equally important, is I was never worried about how Shamanda felt about me when I
Hmm.
left the room.
Hmm. Hmm.
I would say things like, I didn't come here to be friends. I came here to dominate. I came here to, right? And we say that stuff. It is more important about everybody ask yourself, what does it feel like to stand on the other side of you?
Mm.
What does it feel like? And you leave
Hold
the
on,
room.
you're breaking up. You're breaking up.
Okay. And when you leave the room, how do people feel about that?
What? Okay, go back to what do people say about you on the other side of the room?
Yes. How does it feel to stand on the other side of you?
Right.
Like, my
That's it.
name is Antonio. So how does Shamanda feel on the other side of me, because she's on the other side of me?
Mhm.
And then also, when I leave this podcast,
Mhm.
did I make Shamanda feel like it was her podcast?
Mhm.
He had a voice, or did I act like I knew more than her? Or,
Mhm.
did I make you feel better because I was a guest? Or did I try to take whatever, right? Your shine or
Yeah.
your something, whatever. We always have to be thinking,
Yes.
how will Shamanda feel when I hit end?
Yes.
If I'm not worried about that, then I'm not living anybody's faith. Not Islam, not Christianity, not Sikhism, not Judaism, nothing. Not nothing. You're not living not Christianity. How you feel, how I make people feel.
Mm.
Whatever you do unto the least of these, my
You
brothers,
do it unto me.
there it is.
Wow. That's good. So that's something that you realize you had to change
All of that.
because and I can see how you get into that place of selfishness of just that drive that's driving you to I got
Makes
to
sense.
get this for me, for me, for me. But it's
I
a
would have
beautiful
died on the
thing when
street
you
if I
can.
didn't have it. If
Yeah,
I didn't have it, I would have died.
come on. So
Yeah,
there's a time and a place, I think, and a time and a season for it all, and I get that.
absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
really
God
really
had
good.
to teach me those things, through the vessel of, as you said, that what got me here
Hold
won't
on,
get
hold
me.
on. God had to teach you. You broke up.
Okay. God had to teach me through the vessel of Joel Osteen that what got me to him
Hmm.
won't get me beyond him.
Come on.
That drive, that hunger, dog that got me there, I had to
Hold on.
end that.
The drive that got you there, it broke up.
And that drive that got me there, and that dog eat dog that got me there, I
Hmm.
had to end that. See, God never wanted to change me.
Hmm.
He changed my character.
Hmm. Hmm.
Not my personality. Paul was the same before he converted and the same after. His allegiance same.
Hold
Nice
on,
art.
hold on. You're breaking up, breaking up.
Okay, yeah. They're trying to stop me.
Okay, there you go.
Paul,
That okay, Paul.
okay. Paul was crass, brash, in your face,
Hmm.
all that stuff before he converted. And then when he converted, he was still in your face.
Hmm.
Right? Paul's personality didn't change. His
Hmm.
allegiance changed.
Hmm.
His allegiance changed.
Hmm.
And God wanted me to shift my allegiance from get out these streets by any means necessary to help the whole world by any means necessary.
And
That's what
isn't
happened
that
to me.
something that took you knowing the world, okay, to understand once you got over here what you needed to do and how you needed to do that change?
Certainly. There's no way I'll create 100,000 millionaires if I didn't know what 100,000 people are going through. There's no
Come
way.
on.
Yeah,
And
I wouldn't even be qualified.
yeah, and but you know what? That's the thing. Most of the time, people look at the broken pieces as a negative, but it's the broken pieces once mended back together that actually creates the wisdom and knowledge that's needed to help people get to the next place because you found your way. You found the way how to get out yourself. How can you teach me how to do something if you've never really been in that space before? And that's why the beauty of all these stories come together that
Yeah.
make it and that's why I interview so many different kinds of people because everybody's story is different, but somebody's story is going to connect with the soul that it's supposed to connect with to
Yeah.
help bring it up and bring it forth, and that's what a winning world is all about.
Amen to that. I can't add to that. That is absolutely facts. That is absolutely facts. I hope y'all heard her, because you are a vessel.
Mhm.
This podcast is going to somebody right now listen to us. They're going to listen to us.
Yes.
and they're going to have a total life change
Amen.
in this podcast. Like it used to get on my nerves when people used to always say music couldn't save you, or like you listen to gospel music that can't, you got to be in the church. Really, it never really made no sense to me. It's not in the Bible nowhere. God can do what God want to do.
Okay,
Come
but
on,
isn't this church where two or more touch and agree?
that's church.
He's in
That's
the
church.
midst. So
That's
we've
it.
had church. He's
That's
here.
it.
We didn't call
And
it church, but we lifted his name. Okay. And we're putting that information to help people make that mind shift. But he said, where two or more touch and agree. He is there.
it is. So I
So
would
he's
tell your
here.
whole audience, the Winning World podcast is God's new church plant. Is what I would tell you.
Wow. To God be the
And
glory.
that's big words. And I mean it though. I mean it. This is God's new church plant. You
Mm,
are, and you get to go into all the quarantine houses,
yes.
right? You know what I'm saying? You all the stuff that a building do. So shout out to you and Winning
You're
World
breaking
podcast.
up on us. You're breaking up.
Oh, I was just saying, fantastic job to you and the Winning World podcast for the church plant that you are.
To God be the glory. I'm just a vessel, and as Mother Teresa say, a pencil in the master's hand is all I want to be, and I understand that more now than ever before,
Yeah.
and that's what you are. That's what you're doing. He's using you. He's leading you, and you're bringing people out. People need to know the truth, and it's not to take anything from what has been told. It's just we have to realize some things has been taught in ignorance. People can only give you what they know. But when you go through life, you were homeless. You went through some things. I've gone through my own struggles. But when you go through and you come out, you have a greater understanding of things, especially when you go back and say, Father, I want to know, I want to understand this, and I want to do it your way. So I need you to lead me, guide me. Hear my hands, my feet, my mouth, my voice, my heart, my mind, everything, is dedicated to do that you call me to do. I can't do it like Antonio, and Antonio can't do it like me. And that's why we join together, letting people know that you exist. You're out here. We're wanting them to connect. Before we get off, because we're going to narrow it in, I want you to tell people about stress. How have you dealt with stresses? Because this is a stressful time.
Yeah.
And then just give a word of encouragement to the listeners before we close it.
Okay, sure. I'll do both back to back. To be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, there is no stress. And I know that's hard to accept, so I'll try to give it to you this way. It's just energy. It's just, it's all under God's control. Once it get up here in your mind, then I then say this thing is stressful. Let me now respond how I respond to stress.
Yes.
There is no such thing as bad news.
Yes.
There's just news.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. To give you a biblical example of that, the same scripture you used earlier, I didn't ask you for anything. I'm not writing you to ask you for something.
That's it.
But thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't ask because I didn't want you to think that's why I do it.
Yeah.
You see, I've learned to be both abased and about.
Come on. Come on.
I've learned to be content in whatever state that I am in. And that is why you shouldn't stress. Because for you, so here's my word of encouragement. If you're someone that thinks that you're behind, if you're someone that thinks that you've messed up your life, relax, because you're not that strong.
Yeah.
Mess God's plan up for your life.
Come on.
Think about what you're actually saying. Wow. You did something so wicked that God is in heaven going, oh, you know what? I don't know what to do no more. I don't know. No. God can get you wherever you need to be, even if where you currently are It's completely your fault.
Come on. That's it.
That's my word of encouragement.
That's
That's
it.
my word of encouragement. God will get you wherever you need to go, even if
Yes.
where you at is completely your fault.
Yes.
There you go.
And I really thank you for that, because that is so true. And I believe nothing happens except he allows. So my thing is to learn from it, grow from it, and come on, let's win this thing together. It's greater on the other side of this COVID. This COVID only actually allowed us to see the greater that's within us. But we have to take the mindset to say, I want it. And I believe it. Do you believe it? I'm going to ask you that. Do you believe that there's greater in you? Do you believe the God that you say you serve? Because if you say you believe him, you know that he's not going to leave you, nor will he ever forsake you. I don't care what state you're in. If you believe,
Right.
if you believe, irrespective to what it may look like, you know that he has a purpose and a plan, and you trust him through it. You trust
Amen.
him to it. And we
Amen.
trust him with everything. I thank you, Antonia, for joining
Oh,
me
I thank you for having me. Thank you.
on this show today on A Winning World. Thank you, audience, for joining us. Yes, we went to church. And we brought you back to business. It all actually is all connected. How they say separation of church and state. I don't believe God can be taken out of anything. He's in the midst of everything. Everything was created by him. So you
It is.
just have to find that space. So everything that was done today on this broadcast, it was called forth. All of this wasn't planned.
No, no, it wasn't.
But you know what? It was called forth to be. It was something that was supposed to be released. So we thank you, Father. Thank you, Jehovah, for bringing us to this place of just being yielded to be used by you. And I just thank you all for joining. I want you to keep your eyes and your ears open. We have greater stories and great stories, not greater, because every story is great. Every this actually, this is one of my greatest that I look at, only because I look at where my brother has come from.
Thank you.
And also, I must say this, as I stated, in our previous connection, that he's a black male in the society, and there's so much negativity around black men, being beat up with police and thrown into prisons, this, that, and the other. We hear these stories all the time. But for me, it's a beautiful thing to bring a black man.
And
This is
I'm
a
a 100%
man,
black. Let me
you
tell
know,
you.
exactly, a
Thing.
black
I like
African
black
American.
women. Like, I'm, I'm all black. Okay.
But
Yeah.
but the thing is, he invites everyone into his space. He's black, white, Jew, Gentile, you name it. They're part of his team, a part of his family. He treats everyone the same. But I have to lift him up in the
Thank
midst of what we hear so often. Like I said, I'm not bringing you the prison system. I'm not bringing you the streets. But this man has been to the streets. He's employing people that's in the prison system. He's employing those that seem to sometimes be unemployable by other people. He's showing them their worth. He's showing them that, you know what, there is greater in you. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in this world. We need leaders being birthed and coming forth that are willing to see the good and to give people a chance. And a chance and a chance, just like we've been given chance after chance after chance. You don't get to choose
you.
that someone messes up, that they're thrown away. Thank God. God
Thank
didn't throw you or me away. I thank you. I'm going to leave you on that. Thank you for joining A Winning World. Remember, when it's on the YouTube, to subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you can always be connected as these stories are coming forth. Again, Antonio, thank you. My hats are off to you, and I look forward to remaining connected and just growing together and getting whatever information. If ever you want to come on, if ever there's something for you to tell the people, just let me know. I will get you on so that you can reach the audience. I don't know, I don't have everybody audience, but I have the audience that God has given to me, and I want people to know and hear the good news of what is going on and how they can be helped during this time as well as after this time has passed, because this too shall pass. A winning world. With love, hugs, and kisses, I say goodbye until we meet again.
Thank you, everybody.